that every job gets well over 300 to 400 applicants. If you're a prospective immigrant to Portugal, it always pays to do as much research as possible. And I'll keep reiterating, listen to as many different pros and cons of living in Portugal as you can. And funnily enough, that's the name of this video that I'm reacting to today. So for those who are just joining this channel or haven't met me before, my name's Troy. I've lived in Portugal for 2 years. I'm from Australia, Adelaide to be exact. So I'm reacting to these videos to potentially add some more weight to what they have to say. So you get a bit of a real world experience. So let's have a look, see what the pros and cons are of living in Portugal. Good music.
The pros and cons of living in Portugal. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Portugal, a beautiful country located on the western side of Europe. We'll explore some of its perks as well as any potential drawbacks that come with it. Also, you can make an informed decision if this could be your next home. So let's dive.
Yes, please subscribe to the channel. I need to get this channel growing. So please do me a favor, just subscribe. And definitely like the videos. Watch all the ones I've done in previously. They're very informative, highly entertaining.
Dive right in and take a closer look at what life in Portugal has to offer. Pros of living in Portugal. 1. Good weather. Land of sun, sand and sea. It's no wonder that so many people love to live here. Not only is it a beautiful country with plenty of culture and history to explore, but the weather is also unbeatable. In fact, it is one of the reasons why many people from around the world have started moving to Portugal. If you're looking for an idyllic spot where you can bask in some sunshine throughout the year, then look no further than this southern European nation. From mild winters to hot summers, Portugal offers its residents diverse climatic conditions that make living here just perfect. The average annual temperature in the inland north and centre is between 6 degrees and 9 degrees Celsius, while it is higher, exceeding 17 degrees Celsius in the eastern Algarve and the Guadiana Valley. 2. Affordable.
Okay. Sorry, I'll start there again. Okay. So, weather in Portugal, it's very similar to Australia when you're down south of Portugal. So, up north, where I live, it is a lot colder. Generally, a warm summer's day is around 30 degrees. It can get hotter, but I live on the coast, so as you find in the coast, you get the sea breeze off the Atlantic, and in the afternoons, it can become very, very windy. If you're living down in the Algarve, obviously, you get the Mediterranean weather, and you know, it lives up to the hype. In summer, that's where all the Portuguese go on holidays. It gets flooded with international tourists from all over the world. So, yeah, I think, to be honest, if you're moving to Portugal, I really wouldn't be looking to move because of the weather unless you're coming from a climate you don't agree with. If you're moving from Australia to Portugal, I wouldn't be moving for the weather, basically. To sum it up, I mean, what's the point in that? You could move anywhere in Australia and get just as good of weather. So, yeah, if anything, I would say most people move here because of aside from affordability, it's ability to be closer to Europe and being around a whole lot of action from other countries in a short travel space. That's just my idea anyway.
Transportation. Whether you're looking for a quick ride or a longer journey, travelling around Portugal doesn't have to break the bank. For instance, you can take an iconic yellow tram or elétrico up and down Lisbon's hillside at a fraction of what it would cost in any other major city. Plus, they even come with their own unique charm. And don't forget about buses. They are both economical and efficient. You'll never be left stranded without transport again. A bus ride would cost you around $1.60, while the metro and trains would cost you around $4.30. If you are
Okay, so this just seems like a blatant advertisement, to be honest, because it's a lie. All right, the prices are correct, but when you do a conversion to other currencies in the world, it pretty much evens out pretty quickly. So in Australia's point of view, if you're looking at a dollar 60 to a $1.80, that's about $3 Australian. And if you're looking at like the $4.30, as he said, I did have seen other prices that are a little bit cheaper for trains and metro. You're looking at about $7, $8. So it's not cheaper by any stretch of the imagination than anywhere else in the world. To be honest, as far as if you put it on an international market, a lot of places are just on par. Like there's a few, maybe a couple of dollars in it here and there for
3.
certain.
Tax exemptions. Living in Portugal can be a real joy, and one of the biggest benefits is that you don't have to worry about paying hefty taxes. They are taxed on their worldwide income at progressive rates ranging from 14.5% to 20%. Taxes are one of those things that just seem to suck the life out of you and your pocketbook. But in Portugal, you can enjoy some respite from these unpleasant financial burdens. Tax exemptions allow residents to save money while at the same time enjoying all the wonderful offerings this beautiful country has to offer.
Okay, so again, I'm not going to overly agree here. Now, if you are living in Portugal on an income from like passive income, like from pensions and stuff from another country as an immigrant, yes, there's benefits as far as that goes. But if you are an immigrant who's moving, so like my age, I have to work in Portugal, and the wages compared to the rest of the world are just, I'm going to put it blunt, shit. So much so, it's hard to comprehend, honestly, how bad wages are here. And you know, there's a lot of things going on with brain drain from a lot of younger people from Portugal moving out for more opportunities internationally. And yes, taxes can be low, but you get taxed on everything with other fees and charges, and running cars are expensive. So what you think you're saving in one area, you're actually being screwed sideways in other areas. Like we've got bills coming in left, right, centre for things we don't even understand what we're getting half the time. So yeah, this one's a careful one. I wouldn't just come running to Portugal on the promise of cheap taxes. So yeah, it's iffy, but yeah.
4. Good wine. When it comes to wine, Portugal offers up something special. With some of the oldest vineyards in the world, traditional methods are still used to create these classic drinks. Ensure that each bottle has an individual character that can be enjoyed by all. And with such diversity available, it means no matter what type of wine you enjoy, there will always be something on offer. If you are into wines, then moving to Portugal would feel like a heaven for you. But why else should you consider making Portugal your base? Well, because good quality Portuguese wines are surprisingly affordable, meaning everyone can experience these unique flavours without breaking the bank.
Okay, so in terms of Australian wine, where we're used to paying, when you go to a winery, a bottle-o, and you're looking to pick a bottle of wine, generally, the rule of thumb is you really wouldn't go anywhere cheaper than $15. And, it's up to you how much you want to spend above and beyond that sort of figure. In Portugal, they don't have the taxes that Australia demand, and due to it's a glut of wine here, so there's a lot of competition, lots of small wineries, and they do lots of blend wines that actually are very cheap. So for what you could get for the quality of wine for $15 in Australia is only going to be a couple of dollars in Portugal. And the quality is on par, and if not better, than some of those wines. And you could easily, well, for $2, you're looking at $3.50 Australian. So 100%, if you come to Portugal, go to the supermarkets, buy some of the cheapest wine you can find, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about just how good it is. And they do have proper wineries, international like marketed wineries and stuff as well. So if you're really into exploring some of those, they are a lot more expensive. I predict, and I've said in another video, that I would say a lot of those prices reflect more of an international price point and marketing image than the quality of wine. It's just the way it is, if you want to sell products in America for a certain price, because based on a reputation, you're going to also want to sell that in your own country and in Australia for the similar price point. It's just the way the market works. You're not going to sell something cheaper somewhere because you can. So it's like any international products. Again, it's well worth coming to explore the wine.
Finally, if it's romance you're after, then you won't find anywhere better. Few things beat quaffing a glass or two on one of Lisbon's warm summer nights while watching beautiful sunsets over stunning architectural landmarks. Simply magical. Fine.
Okay, so, Lisbon isn't the most picturesque city. It's just the way it is. Porto is probably more your typical Portuguese architecture laid out city, where you're going to see a lot more because it's built on the side of hills heading down in towards the Douro River, and you're going to see a lot, and it's spectacular. And so drinking wine overlooking the Douro in Porto would be far better experience.
Great banking system. One of the great things about Portuguese banks is that they offer a wide range of services and features at competitive rates. For example, if you need to send money abroad for business purposes, banks can usually provide you with low fees and fast transfers through their international payment services. They also provide customers with more sophisticated financial products such as wealth management offerings, insurance coverages and credit cards, all backed by reliable customer service teams who are always willing to take care of any query promptly.
Okay, so I don't know about that one. Like, honestly, a bank's a bank, and most banks in Portugal are international banks, like based all around Europe, and probably with links and relationships and business models resembling most of the major banks around the world, so again, it's a very modern banking system. That's the benefit. I wouldn't be thinking it's going to be any cheaper as far as fees and charges go. I personally haven't really researched that as much. I'll be open and honest here, but it would be highly doubtful that it would be much better than anywhere else in the world as far as fees and charges go. Banks are kind of renowned for that, and I can't see it being any different here. My experience with my bank is it is no different here.
6. Private healthcare. If you're living in Portugal, there's a lot to love about the country, from its stunning coastline and delicious cuisine to wonderful people and culture. But one of the best things about life in Portugal is its excellent private healthcare system. The Portuguese government makes sure that every citizen has access to quality public healthcare. But if you want extra benefits or just prefer it over public care, then you can opt for private health insurance. And believe us when we say this, private healthcare in Portugal is top-notch.
Okay, so I'll get out in a minute. As prices compare, Portugal's private health insurance for top-notch medical stuff is pretty good. However, just based on having to use it recently, I don't think the gaps as close in terms of what they're charging as price to what the coverage actually is. So you need to be careful in this area, because in Australia, if you've got private health insurance, a lot of the time you don't have to pay anything, or it's very little in gap. So you're paying a lot more for your insurance. I get it. I know mine was about 200 a month, 200, 250 a month in Australia, somewhere around there. That was just mine alone. And what would happen was, you go to the dentist, I think I only had to pay like $12 out of it. Whereas here, it's not as covered in terms of the gap. And some of them don't even, I can describe it. Some companies don't deal with the insurance company that you're with, because they use multiple, so they'll have some option compared to another option. However, you can still claim your service through there, but you have an upfront fee that you have to pay. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, it's cheaper, but it doesn't necessarily cover you as much at the time of service. Now, one thing that is spectacularly good about Portugal healthcare is the cost of medicines are cheap, and I mean really cheap. For the medications I was getting in Australia, it would cost me close on $60, and in Portugal, the other day it cost me €7, and so $11-12. So the cost is extraordinarily different, way better, and it's something that I really do recommend you do your research and find a company. Now, I go through Metas, I'll be quite open with that. They're quite good, they're very popular, and I don't have any complaints. There's just a few observations about what the difference between utilising the private health and the gap from the service provider.
Exclusive physician visits and personalised treatments to speedy assistance when needed. Have no fear of ever waiting too long before getting checked out or receiving treatment. Even if you are not health conscious, you should consider this point before moving to Portugal. 7. Portuguese are welcoming and friendly. The Portuguese are known as some of the friendliest and welcoming people in the world. It's no wonder that many people choose to live in Portugal. From their warm hospitality to friendly smiles, it's easy to feel right at home here. Most visitors are surprised by just how quickly they became accustomed to the country's laid-back lifestyle and relaxed attitude towards strangers. Whether you're visiting a big city or venturing into the countryside, you can expect a hearty welcome from all sorts of locals who will gladly share stories and advice on where best to explore. Portugal is its low salaries. It may come as a surprise to some, but Portuguese wages are lower than average compared to those found across Europe. This means...
And the world. Look, they're not as low as what some countries are, granted, but they're nowhere near what Western countries are like in terms of Australia, UK, USA. For the job I was doing in Australia, I am getting, or if I was to work in the exact same equivalent, I would be getting probably 50% of that salary. And the cost of living, yeah, it probably evens out a little bit, but what that means is on a world scale and international prices don't mirror the lower wage, so to speak. So if I went to catch a plane somewhere, it's going to cost me the same as what it costs on the international market Okay, it's not just magically cheaper. So all of a sudden you start being able to afford to be able to do as much as what you thought you might from using a Portuguese wage. And this is it's something I've had to learn the hard way. I didn't expect it, to be honest. So I let myself down. I didn't do as much research in this area as I should have, and I didn't expect wages to be so low.
That while prices for goods and services are relatively low, residents don't earn enough to take full advantage of them. You should definitely consider this point before moving to Portugal.
Yeah, so I think as an immigrant who comes raving about the low cost of living, you've got to really understand that this is a source of frustration for locals, because the locals earn less than their American, UK, Australian counterparts, and even many other parts of Europe, including Spain. And all these people come flocking in saying, how great's the cost of living? It's a lot cheaper. That sounds incredibly patronising to people who live in Portugal, because the Portuguese people find it expensive. And I've been guilty of it. I'll openly admit I was guilty about raving on about the cost of living, because compared to Australia, it's chalk and cheese. But I wasn't living on a Portuguese wage at that time, and I can really see their point of view now of why things are expensive. So when you come, be respectful. Don't go around raving to your local Portuguese neighbours about how good the cost of living here is, because you don't know the wage and they're living in comparison to what you had. So it's just a matter of being respectful. The cheaper cost of living is cheap for a reason.
Of course, this isn't true for everyone. There are always people who manage to escape the low salary trap and find better paying jobs elsewhere. But it does mean that it can take longer for Portuguese citizens to save up money or make investments due to their income levels being so low. 2. Portuguese are not so open to change. The Portuguese sure do love their traditions, from the food they serve at festivals to their way of dressing, and they don't seem too eager on change. Even in the modern era, when it seems that everything around us is constantly evolving and changing, some things remain sacred in Portugal. Tradition. It's no wonder why many consider this one of the cons of moving to Portugal, that they are not so open to new ideas and innovation. However, if you're looking for a place with tons of history and an appreciation for its cultural heritage, you can find that here too. Just be prepared for some resistance if you suggest something new or different. 3.
Okay. Is that a con? I don't know about that one. You've got to really think about, from the Portuguese perspective, what's wrong with tradition. Too often people are too quick to throw out the old because of a newfangled gimmick. And I think there's nothing wrong with being skeptical about putting in a gimmick, especially if it's not proven. So it's a very modern country, so I don't overly understand where it's coming from. Traditions have their place. They're very proud people. They're very proud of their traditions, and they have every right to be. So it's just a matter of showing respect, coming in and saying, how about you do this differently, for no real reason other than it makes your own life easier. Probably is going to get a little bit of a, whack across the back of the head type situation. So I think it's just all about a matter of just, if you're moving here, be respectful of what's already in place. If you're young and an innovator and you're looking to, the young people are very modern and progressive. Like if you're talking in the 20s, the dress sense, they dress like modern Europeans, modern Australians. They watch all the same TV shows, American TV shows, American movies. They dress the same. Maybe the older generations are a bit stuck in their ways, but like any country, older people are generally stuck in their ways. So just be respectful when you come here. I don't think it's really a con.
Slow services. Living in Portugal can be a great experience for many, but one of the drawbacks is having to deal with slow customer services. This can become an issue when trying to complete tasks such as opening up a bank account or filing paperwork for tax purposes, as these processes take far longer than they would in other countries.
This is a source of frustration. There are lots of videos outlining this. I've spoken about it in previous videos, so I'm not going to go into it too much. It's just, there's definitely some issues when it comes to how slow things are, and I'm gonna say it, I think the level of professionalism in some of these places aren't as good as what you would expect in Australia, England, and the USA when dealing with some companies. I don't know why. It's just something that you keep bumping into. So, yeah, let's not go into it anymore.
Furthermore, some services are often unavailable due to staff shortages or limited hours, which leads to increased wait times and frustration on the part of customers.
Yeah, so limited hours is a good one. It's not uncommon for a business to open at 10. So if you think the average working day is from like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, well, unlike in Australia where a business is open all day, right? So a government office, anything, like everything is open over lunch. There's no particular lunch time. Here they shut at lunchtime and they shut for 2 hours. So it's not uncommon for a business or government agency to open at 10, shut at 12, open at 2 and shut at 4. It is ridiculous, it is annoying, and it makes it very, very hard to go and utilize. The post office is a classic example here, so be prepared.
4. Difficulty finding a job. Many Portuguese nationals who are looking for employment often find that there is a lack of opportunities available. The number of roles on offer may be few and far between, and competition for the decent jobs that do exist can be fierce. The high levels of unemployment in Portugal mean that those searching for a good career opportunity must often look outside the country or take up low-paid work just to get by.
Yeah, so this is common. There are a lot of villages around Portugal, the smaller villages, but they're virtually all they are is a group of houses and there might be a cafe, but that's about it. So it'd be common for people who will have to travel to another town to do their shopping. So what happens then is that means that obviously if there's very, very limited, there's no business in these villages, it means everyone's got to travel to find work. And so what's going to happen is they're all going to go to the closest bigger town. It's like a suburb as such, so where I live, Viana do Castelo has so many towns and villages around it, but there's no real business centres, such small opportunities for jobs that every job gets well over 300 to 400 applicants for it. As soon as it opens, half an hour in, we got told by an owner who was interviewing my wife for a job that job got, within half an hour she had to take it down because it had 300 to 400 applicants. So it is something that you have to be prepared for. If you are looking to work, my advice is try and organise remote work before you come. So try and be a digital nomad. That would probably be the best way to avoid this. If you're looking to work in Portugal, you're probably going to have to really try and focus on getting a job before you come. If you live in a specialist area or work in a specialist area, that probably won't be too hard for you.
Those coming from abroad commonly struggle too, as language barriers can make it difficult to access local networks needed for finding work. 5. Bureaucracy. One thing many people do not realise when they are moving to Portugal is just how much paperwork and red tape can be required for even simple tasks, such as applying for a visa or setting up utilities. It's a complicated process involving multiple government agencies, long queues at counters and lots of documents, all taking several weeks or months to complete. That's why locals are fond of saying, nothing here happens until you have gone through the bureaucracy. 6.
So, again, I've spoken this in several videos. My advice with this is make sure when you come, you bring every document with you and it's as up to date as physically possible. So every document you have has been issued by the Australian government within 3 months before you leave, where applicable. Obviously, if it's a passport, that's not what I'm talking about, but your birth certificate is one, definitely. Make sure you get one issued to you before you leave, and the other one too is you need to get it notarized by the Australian Embassy. So that it has to be vouched that it's legit. Okay, so be prepared to run through these steps. Now, when you go to Portuguese, through the Portuguese bureaucracy, one thing they are famous for is not telling you shit. Okay, they will come in, that you'll say you don't have the documents, can't do this. Bye. Oh, okay. What documents do I need? Next. It's almost like that. They can't get you out the door fast enough half the time, or they will tell you some of the documents you need, but leave out something else. Websites may not be up to date, and all the laws or the rules have changed, and you don't even have the right information when you go. And half the time, these government officers won't even answer their phone. So you're going to basically need to go in there and deal with it face to face. And it got such a running joke when I was going through this that we were being, couldn't get anything done. We'd be asked off because we didn't have a document. It became a running joke. We basically expected it after a while, and all you could do is laugh. So 100%, just be prepared. Take everything you can physically have, whether you don't think you need it or not, to every government agency you're going to. Okay? Everything around your ID, your finances, everything. Just take a folder with you. What do you need? Have it as organized as you can physically have it as a document to your life. So, just be prepared. And get it notarized to Portuguese.
Too relaxed lifestyle. Due to its relaxed nature, locals tend to take life as it comes and don't always have high-pressure goals or deadlines they must reach. As such, if you're someone who thrives on structure and precise timing, living in Portugal can be quite challenging. If you plan on relocating here full-time, then make sure that your productivity skills match up with the country's laid-back vibe. This means you will need to be organised and forward-thinking so that nothing slips between the cracks, even when everyone around you is moving at their own leisurely pace. Okay,
so what he's talking about there, and a great example, is dealing with construction, getting things fixed around your house, you utilising services that involve people coming to you, is organise it weeks in advance. So don't just think, because in Australia, I could ring this person, they'll be out by the end of the week. Like, forget about that. That's not going to happen in Portugal. Think 3, 4, 5 weeks ahead, okay? Which makes it hard if something breaks or you need something done. But just the other day, we were looking at getting someone to come and look at the property as far as its value, and we knew that we'd probably have to look at 5-6 weeks down the track when had time off, start getting the ball rolling, because you never know when it comes. Now, it may happen quicker. All right, if it happens quicker and the next day, and they're able to come the next day, obviously much better. But just have that in the back of your mind. You have to play their game, so you have to think ahead of at all times of when you might need something, and just be prepared for the wait.
Sometimes being too relaxed can also lead people into negative habits, such as procrastination or lack of motivation, which won't help anyone succeed professionally or personally. In conclusion, living in Portugal can be a great choice for those seeking a new life abroad, with its gorgeous landscape, delicious food, and endlessly friendly locals. But there are also some downsides to note before you choose it as your next home, especially the high cost of living in major cities like Lisbon. You should consider all the pros and cons of living in Portugal before planning your move.
To put it bluntly, do your research, people. Okay, as always, please leave comments if you're an immigrant in Portugal like myself, or even a local who wants to tell me off because I got something wrong, or you might have something that you might want to add, so immigrants can future immigrants can get a better idea on what to expect, because I think there's nothing worse than moving to a place and it ends up not being anything like you expected because you didn't do your research. So this is where you've really got to be prepared for the good, the possible bad. Now, I only say possible bad because you might have the best experience on the planet, okay? It's one of those countries, but it's best to be prepared that there are things that can happen that you're not used to, because of it wouldn't happen in Australia. I lost count of the amount of times I've said that. All right, as always, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will catch you next time.